Mario Kart Wii. An entry in the beloved Mario Kart series so casual that there is literally an option to automate one of the central mechanics of the game. That's right, I'm talking about automatic drifting, every 8-year-old's favorite crutch of a video game mechanic circa 2008. Of course, I personally moved past it a long time ago. That being said, it does have me curious as to one thing. If drifting in a Mario Kart game can be automated, can it also be fully eliminated? Is it possible to beat Mario Kart Wii without drifting? So the limitations here are pretty self-explanatory. No drifting, so none of this. Anything that can be done that isn't a drift is legal and in fact highly encouraged. As for our goal, we need to get first place in all 8 Grand Prix Cups, and you know what? Just to make things interesting, let's do it all in 150cc. Now just one more thing to decide on before the rubber can hit the road. Character and kart. For character, I don't know, how about Koopa? As for the kart, let's go for the bike with the best handling. Alright, so how does Luigi Circuit go? Honestly, quite well. All the track's corners are comfortably gradual enough for us to navigate without drifting. Added to that is the fact that there are plenty of straightaways that we could use to WWP, or wheelie whenever possible. What, do you think I picked a bike for aesthetics? Anyways, an easy first. Moo Moo Meadows also contains mostly gradual curves. There is this part at the end with these grassy knolls, which is a bit trickier but definitely has a fairly simple path of least resistance through it if you know the lay of the land. I didn't actually win this race because I got hit by a stray green shell right before the finish line, but hey, a 3rd place finish is certainly recoverable. Mushroom Gorge reminded me of the downsides of playing as a light character. Ultimately though, the track was not particularly unfriendly to a non-drifting driver, so I was still able to fight back to 2nd place, which does keep me in the running going into the final race of the cup. Alright, after a couple disappointing showings, we have to win at Toad's Factory. There are 2 segments of the track that could get in the way of that. Firstly is this conveyor belt turn. It actually works out pretty well during laps 1 and 3. On lap 2 though, it's far from helpful. Not insurmountable, especially with a mushroom, but certainly a bit of a setback. I'd also like to address these bumps right here when you get back outside the factory. Specifically, I'd like to address the fact that I'm not tricking off of them, and the reason for that is that without the ability to drift, speed isn't always good. You see, how sharply we can turn is inversely correlated with how fast we're going. As such, in a situation like this, it's often going to be better to pass up a speed boost to allow us the maneuverability to successfully make the turn. Which we did, leading to a victory here in Toad's Factory, and a victory in the Mushroom Cup as a whole. Now we just watch this nice cinematic where... Wait. Koopa! No! 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 I'm pretty sure that drifting in cutscenes doesn't count. I think. On to Flower Cup. Baby Daisy's adventure in Mario Circuit was fairly straightforward. It's one large, gradual figure 8. Not much to see here. Coconut Mall then nets another win, seemingly because I'm just better at not getting hit by cars than the AI is. DK Summit can almost be described as having half pipes in lieu of drifting. As such, getting through the track without drifting isn't too tough a task. I did only get 2nd though because I hit some Shy Guys on the last lap. Oh well. Luckily we do make up for it with Wario's gold mine going by so smoothly, which allows us to claim Flower Cup victory. This lighthouse turn in Daisy Circuit was tough to pull off with any amount of smoothness or efficiency, thus leading to Toad only finishing in 2nd place on this race. Next up is Koopa Cape, which actually has some novel factors that work in our favor. Principally, the river, which actually helps to guide the bike and keep it on track in spite of the lack of drifting. I don't like this turn though. I really don't. Still got first place. Maple Tree has this branch in particular that is dangerous for non-drifters. It can, however, be overcome by either slowing down or cutting your corner very close to the inside. Although I navigated that part of the track fine, on a different section I did get taught the old lesson about how small characters have absolutely no staying power in this world. In spite of that setback, I was able to pull myself back up by my bootstraps, climb all the way back up to first place, then get eviscerated by a blue shell right before the finish line. Still got second at least. Last in this cup is Grumble Volcano, which I certainly won't call easy. I will state, however, that I had no issues with it, so take that as you will. I, of course, won Grumble Volcano, and with that victory, shored up a Star Cup victory. Now time for the Special Cup, and you know what? I'm tired of getting pushed around. Let's bring in Donkey Kong. Now, how does the first track, Dry Ruins, go driftless? Pretty well, honestly. I don't feel like I was missing out on too much by not drifting. That's a first place. When it comes to Moonview Highway, I've got one piece of advice. Look, you aren't even drifting. You're not a fancy driver doing flashy things, so just act like a normal driver and stay on the correct side of the road. It's safer, and the corners aren't as tight, which makes them easier to take in your non-drifting life. Bowser's Castle has a lot of turns that I really wish I could have been drifting around. Add to that some stupid mistakes that I made, which really can have no excuse, and it all equals a 9th place finish. Somehow, even after that, I'm still in the lead overall, so a first place on Rainbow Road would definitely be enough to secure the cup, at least. To achieve such a result, we drive in the most conservative, arguably boring way possible. But, you know what? It worked. With such a method, we win Rainbow Road, and by extension, the Special Cup. Now for the Retro Cups. Starting with Baby Peach taking on the Shell Cup, in which the first race, Peach Beach, just did not go well. I don't even really know why. The track itself isn't super complex or anything. I guess some errors on my part and a couple of instances of items being destructive were to blame. Point being that we finished in 7th place on this track. Not a great start. Then Yoshi Falls and Ghost Valley 2 go by very easily, just leaving Mario Raceway, which was not a particularly difficult track, but was made quite close by items and the like. So that's the Shell Cup out of the way. Now we face the Banana Cup, and who better to take that on than Diddy Kong? The cup, of course, starts off with Sherbet Land. The part of this track that I'd consider to be the trickiest is the part in the cave. My strategy for that was just to hug the leftmost wall. And I guess it was a decent one since it led to my first place finish. Shy Guy Beach is another easy one, and then it's off to Delfino Square, where the track itself wasn't too difficult thanks to these little corner cuts. I did, however, get hit by a blue shell. And another one. And another one. And you know what? In spite of all of that, I still won! I don't even know what to feel about that. Rounding out the Banana Cup was Waluigi Stadium, which I won even though I really didn't deserve it. But hey, a win's a win, and that's our 6th cup beaten without drifting. Okay, Daisy, let's take on Leaf Cup, starting with Desert Hills. For our purposes, the most difficult part of the track is this area with banked turns. To get through here, you've got to focus and either make sure to have your lines set up perfectly, or alternatively, you could just slow down a bit. One thing that certainly helped me win this race was getting a golden mushroom in 2nd place and then using it to build an insurmountable lead. Not saying that's something you can replicate in your playthrough, but it was a factor in mine. Then came Bowser's Castle 3, which honestly, if it was the first track I tried, I probably would have thought it was pretty hard. But since it's the 26th track, it went by quite smoothly. Just start those turns early and don't be afraid to let up on the gas if you need to change the trajectory by a significant margin. We won, by the way, in case that wasn't clear. Next up is DK's Jungle Parkway. There's not much new going on here. The last bend is something to be conscious of, but we've already gone over the strategies we employ to overcome obstacles like that. One more victory. Finally, we end the Leaf Cup with Mario Circuit. I'm running out of ways to say this, but it's easy. Maybe that turn right before the chop is mildly trickier than the rest of the track, but like, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's going from a 1 to a 2. Really, it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, we won this race, and so now all that stands between us and a successful challenge is the Lightning Cup. We'll have Mario take on the Lightning Cup, and the first track to face here is Mario Circuit 3. And you know what? This one is actually quite tricky. It's a no-frills track based purely on tricky, sometimes sharp turns, and it's tough. I thought I was doing a decent job taking those turns without having to slow down too much, aside from this one, which, without drifting, you will slow down from this one. But in spite of my best efforts, I only achieved 4th place. Certainly possible to come back from, but definitely not what I wanted to open with. Next up is Peach Gardens, which is extremely easy. And then it's DK Mountain. The same DK Mountain whose middle section of the track is comprised of a bunch of hairpin turns. You know, the type of turn we're the worst at without drifting. So I just kept calm, slowed down, and took the turns as best I could, and somehow I won. Yay! And finally, Bowser's Castle is no problem, meaning that we win the Lightning Cup, and with that, we've won every cup in the game. So as the credits roll, we take comfort in the newfound knowledge that it is possible to beat Mario Kart Wii without drifting. And that's that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, a like would be greatly appreciated. Also, go ahead and leave a comment as to whether or not you want me to try to beat another Mario Kart game without drifting. And if so, which one? Also, you'll definitely want to subscribe to the channel, as with so many of you all stuck at home, and surely in great need of entertainment, I'm going to be trying to kick video production into overdrive, so you won't want to miss all that. But anyways guys, until next time, I've been CMeeCraft, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye.